back on the job. I haven't been on one for ages, obviously, because I still got my crappy ankle, which is going to be a bit knackered for a while yet. But I can still give help. A good friend of mine, Mike Nethercott from school, messaged me the other day. He's got a patio going on in his garden, and he's trying to sort the levels out, trying to get the hardcore and stuff sorted out. So I thought I'll pop round and lead in the right direction. And when you're at this stage, the main thing you've got to sort out is your levels. It's always to dig it out and chuck some hardcore and stuff, but when you get to a certain point of doing that, you've got to start putting your string lines up so you know the height down from the string line to put your hardcore. Because when you've got your hardcore all of the right height, 30mm cement, 20mm tile, 50mm, so that's the height we want to get the hardcore set at from the string lines downwards. So we're at that stage at the moment. So we set some lines up, which I'm about to show you, and anybody else in a similar position, do what you can. So what we got porcelain tiles, that's what's coming on here, and we got the edging, which is a sleeper. So what we're going to do, we're going to run levels from the back of the patio, running forward. Tiles then going to come level with the sleeper here, so any rainwater which lands on it can roll off down the sleeper into the grass. So we set some levels up. We've got a string line either end, and we've got a string line in the middle. Then what we've done, we set another string line up at the back, just to make sure the end all correspond evenly to disperse the water. That's the main thing, you've got to get rid of the water. So we got a string line over there behind the tree going back, same with this end, and one in the middle. And this is where they all correspond to. So we know that line there in the middle, that's dead level with the front of the sleepers. I'll show you what it looks like a little bit close up. So as long as it's past the line, then that's about a 1 in 60 fall, which you're after for porcelain. So obviously there's needs to be a bit more hardcore to go in at the back, because that's the finished height now over there where you can see the string line up against the sleepers. It does actually have some stone dust pre-bought because he knew it was a little bit short. So the plan would be now, put that stone dust down, stick the whacker plate on it, slightly moisten it so it compacts nicely. Then I can figure out how much more he's got to get from B&Q tomorrow to get to 50mm below that line, because you want tiles 20 and then you want 30mm sand and cement. So this yet has to be built up. When it's built up, then it's pretty much ready to go. So we sorted out the levels now. We know we're starting from this end. String line there, string line there, string line behind me, all going up that, where I showed you on the level, just past the line, with a string line in the back, making sure they all end up in the same place, because we're sloping this way. So regarding to where to start, over there in the corner, just kind of off screen, what we had to do, we had to make sure how square that side retaining wall was with the front. So the old Pythagoras theorem they used to teach me in school, and I didn't have a bloody clue what they were on about. Right, sorted. 3 meters that way, 4 meters this way. If that's 5 meters there, and it's nice and square. But unfortunately, that side wall isn't that square. So we're going to start off in this corner, because that's the more visual side, and the patio is just going to have to creep over. Otherwise, the side wall there all has to be knocked down and shifted over. So just going to chuck some chip-ins around it, because we're going to have chip-ins there anyway, just because that walls are a square. We've got a tree behind me as well. You don't want to be putting tiles too close to the tree, because if the tree grows, it's just going to pop the tiles. So we're going to have some chip-ins there anyway. Plus we're going to stick, well, I'm not going to stick, they're going to stick another step in by here, which is going to have some chip-ins in it as well. It's a step up, because this is just a bit too much at the moment. It's about 200mm, you'll probably end up tripping over. So there's going to be chip-ins about. So we're going to start over that corner there, bring the tiles over. It's going to be in stretcher bonds, so the first row full tiles, and the next row then chop a tile in half and stagger the joints, just like a brick wall stretcher bond type thing. So yeah, unfortunately it's a little bit out of square, but but it's no big deal. You know, it's a DIY home job. Not expecting miracles, just want to get the patio down nice and flat so you can stick a table of chairs on it. And the pagoda, which is going to go somewhere behind me. So that's pretty much the idea, as much as I can do to help. But for you guys as well, if you've got something similar in the back of your house you want to do, just sort out your ground level. Get your ground level right. Stick your lines on it so you can measure down and you know where the tiles have got to go to. So when this is all done and the levels are raised up, it's going to be 50mm gap, it's going to be 30mm for cement, 20mm for tile, perfect. So that's that part sorted. So that's the corner over there, which is slightly out of square, bit unfortunate, but not the end of the world. So the next bit then is the primer, slurry primer. You have to do that. Don't stick it on with a roller, don't stick it on with a brush, stick it on with a trowel. Actually, let me just grab a towel. Back again. Right, so this is the bit which needs to be primed. So all the squares, but they're actually about 2mm set in. So you want to get your primer flush all the way across the top, and that's 2-3mm, that's what you're after. That'll give it more chance to stick. If you don't prime your tile, it ain't gonna stick. And then the last bit of advice, spacers. Tyler's Tool sell these, I've been using them for quite a while. It's those Vite clips, where it's like a T shape, goes underneath the tile, and a bit sticks out, and you've got that little screw cap. If you're a DIYer, that's gonna help you out. They do these buckets where they got the screw caps, Vite claps, and they got spacers. So that's gonna be a bonus for the DIYer trying to do something like this. So what I've said, start from this end because this is the most visual, run lines that way. And as long as every time you do a line, you're catching the string lines in the middle and either ends, you're on the right track because you already know the level. So fingers crossed, it all goes well. And I might pop back in a while and see how he's done it, see if it's turned out all right. And then we've got to talk about slurry grout. But that's another day. Probably not for the DIY of slurry grout, because it's bloody stressful. Right, I'm off. Later.